is RedTechShoe, and I have another Battleborn character review episode for you. And in this video, we're going to be looking at Pendles. We are going to be looking at one of the DLC characters, the Sneaky Snaky Assassin. We're going to be going over his skill setup, his Helix loadout, his lore and backstory, and tips and tricks that I have found to be pretty effective and fun to just sneak up on our opponents and stab them in the back and slither away back into the shadows. So let's get right into his skill setup. His first skill is called Smoke Bomb. Pendles throws a smoke bomb at his feet, deals a small amount of damage around him, and it'll create this little dust cloud that'll deal small amounts of damage for 2 more seconds. Now, in addition to the damage that it does, it will instantly cloak him, and we'll go over that in a minute. His second skill is called Injection. Pendles will use poison on his commas, on the 2 blades that he has, 1 in each hand, and he'll do a horizontal slash with both of them at the same time forward, and it will deal heavy damage to your opponent, and it will slow them for 2 seconds. Very excellent for slowing the opponents down and making it so that it's difficult for them to try and escape once they realize that Pendles has them in his sights. His ultimate ability is called Miasma. Pendles covers himself in an airborne poison that will deal a fair amount of damage. It starts off at 248 damage, and it will deal for the next 10 seconds. So it'll deal 248 damage over 10 seconds, not every second for 10 seconds. That'd be way too strong. But while Miasma is active, Injection's cooldown is reduced, so you get to use Injection more often. Pretty dang useful. His skills pretty much complement his basic inherent abilities, and his inherent passive ability is called Corner Sneak. Pendles will cloak himself and be completely invisible while out of line of sight of enemies. So if an enemy's chasing Pendles, you run around the corner and they lose sight of you for 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds, Pendles will instantly cloak himself. It's an inherent ability. You don't have to do anything about it. It automatically happens whether you want it to or not. And while he is cloaked, Pendles' movement speed is increased while cloaked, but decreases while uncloaked. So he kind of moves kind of slow-ish when he's uncloaked, but when he's cloaked, he is very fast. His basic weapon are dual commas and throwing stars. Pendles his primary R2 attack, he'll do a bunch of single slashes with his commas, alternating left, right, or right, one and the other. And his secondary attack, his L2, he throws a little throwing star forward. His basic talent is called Snakeborn. Pendles' natural evasive abilities grant him minus 25% crowd control duration. So slowness effects or stun or whatever, any crowd control ability that would affect him is 25% less effective in terms of like duration and stuff like that. So if it would stun him for, let's just say, 10 seconds, let's just say there was a skill that stunned him for 10 seconds, for Pendles it would only stun him for 7.5 seconds. So that's an inherent ability, once again, of his. So as you can see, Pendles has a lot to work with. He has a very efficient arsenal. However, we're going to go over his lore and backstory next. Now, when it comes to Pendles' lore and backstory, he is actually from the planet Akopos, the same planet as Alani, so the two of them have a history together. They're both from that planet, they're both native to that planet. However, he was actually scouted by Toby. A long time ago, Toby noticed that Pendles was becoming an elite assassin in Solus, and he was very, very dangerous. But Toby decided to scout him out and then send a report to Reyna, leader of the rogues, and decided that, hey, this guy is dangerous, he's a little sketchy, and he's pretty efficient at what he does. I say we recruit him into the rogue faction just so that no one else one day hires him to come after us. And Reyna really acknowledges that, yeah, that's probably the better of the 2 options, to make it so that he's on our side and not on someone else's who wants him to take us out. So Reyna recruits him into the rogue faction, and now he's a rogue. Now, how he became so efficient and how he started making a name for himself was 15 years ago on Minek B, Benedict's homeworld, Toby's homeworld, where they're from, and he actually was in a bar at, one of the places on a military installation, on the an MSBC base. And what happened was Benedict was at the bar, and he'd met Pendles. They were both strangers to each other, sitting side by side. Benedict had been having a few drinks and said he hated his commander, and he'd like, man, I'd buy a drink for the tough son of a bitch who took him out. Well, Pendles heard this, and he's like, apparently he took that as an offer, as a legitimate offer for a bounty. So without saying anything, Pendles gets up, leaves the bar, comes back a few hours later with the head of Benedict's commander, saying, okay, you know, or the deal's done. Benedict sees this and freaks the fuck out and is just like, holy shit, dude, get the fuck away from me. You need to get off this planet before the UPR tries to come after you, or worse, links you and I together, because Benedict doesn't want to be connected to the elimination of a high-ranking officer. That wouldn't be too good for his career or his life. So Pendles, since then, has made a name for himself as an elite premier assassin in all of Solus. And his weapons, believe it or not, are actually, one of them's rather unique. One of the weapons that he holds is the skull of the Cormiri Aviant, the former commander of Benedict. He uses that skull as one of his weapons. The other weapon is a modified Ballistic ice climbing axe. And he's really, really good at what he does. He's an elite assassin. He runs the organization called Executive Executions. Pretty much, you know, the most cold-blooded, black-hearted killer in the cosmos, and that killer's commitment is to customer service, second to none. And that's what he's all about. That's what Pendles is all about. He's all about his assassinations. He's all about business. He's a businessman. He doesn't do, it's nothing personal. He doesn't like personally hate anyone or apparently care too much about anyone, except maybe Alani, because the two of them have history coming from the same planet. So those two might, you know, obviously he might care for her. Maybe I wouldn't put money on it. But Pendles is an elite assassin. He takes his business very seriously, and he's very proficient at what he does. And that's all I've got for his lore and backstory. Now we're going to move over to his Helix loadout, and I'm going to go over exactly the setup that I use to try and maximize his efficiency on the battlefield. Okay, so right off the bat, level 1, I like to go with Poison Cloud, increasing the duration of smoke bombs, Poison Cloud, an extra 3 seconds. This effectively takes it from 2 seconds to 5 seconds, making it last longer. It's not so much for enemy Battleborn, it's for ads. That way if I get caught in ads, because sometimes when I'm running around with Pendles, I'll get stuck in ads as I'm trying to ambush an opponent, and they might be damaging me pretty efficiently. So I'll use the smoke bomb to not only escape from attack, but also to damage them for even longer. Cobra Strike is pretty good. It can actually launch Pendles up into the air. If you're angled correctly, you can actually launch Pendles forward and upwards as if he made a really, really long jump. So you can take advantage of Cobra Strike's ability for putting Pendles in position for something, or you can use it to catch an enemy who's running a little too fast from you. But I prefer Poison Cloud. Next up, level 2, I like to go with Flash Bomb. Enemies hit by Smoke Bomb are blinded for 1 second. Pretty effective at getting away as well as disorienting my opponents. I'm not a big fan of ninja-neering. Smoke bombs can now be thrown. I've never really had a use for that, considering how I like to use smoke bombs primarily for cloaking myself. I don't do it for the damage. I don't do it for the blinding effect. I do it just for Pendles cloaking. Anything else is extra icing on the cake for me. Next up, level 3. Flurry of Blows is excellent. I love Flurry of Blows. And if you do not have Flurry of Blows activated, you can go with either Backstab or Mamba's Bite. Either one of them is excellent. For beginners, I would recommend Mamba's Bite just because adding a lifesteal to Pendles, he can die in battle, and when you're starting out with him and learning him, the extra lifesteal could definitely be very appreciated. However, if you become very proficient with him, Pendles' melee attacks deal increased damage from behind. You can go with the Backstab ability and catch an enemy and just start wailing on them until you unlock Flurry of Blows. But I definitely like Flurry of Blows just because it allows me to deal more damage to my opponent and make it so that it's harder for them to survive. Next up, level 4. Leech Life is not too bad. A portion of health damage dealt by injection is returned to Pendles as health, so it's 60% lifesteal. That is really strong. That is excellent. Potent Venom I never really found that much of a use for, considering how 1 second isn't as much as I would like. If it was an additional 2 to 3 seconds, that would be excellent. And I didn't really gravitate towards Savage Cut at all, so I like to go with Life Leech. You can go with Potent Venom if you want. Next up, level 5, I like to go with Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is actually rather fun. When Corner Sneak is activated, Pendles can briefly reveal major enemies through walls. That also works on Battleborn. So if you activate Life Sneak, you can see how many enemies are right around the corner and try and anticipate which one's about to come first, and you can time it. And you can time your attacks perfectly, so right as they run around the corner, they are instantly hit and slowed down. Cloak and Cover is not too bad if you're, if you want, especially once I said for beginners. So Cloak and Cover is excellent for beginners, and then if you're feeling good enough to take advantage of Snake Eyes, you can roll with that. Next up, level 6. I like to go with Sweet Spot, increasing injections damage dealt from behind. With Pendles, you're always going to be able to flank your opponents. You're going to be sneaking up on them, and using injection behind the opponent does much more damage, especially if you're also using the life steal right here from Life Leech. So utilizing Sweet Spot with Life Leech can actually be very efficient, especially since we're doing now 25% more damage. That extra health can be a difference maker. So Sweet Spot is definitely my preferred for level 6. Next up, level 7. This is actually up to you. Poison Blood is excellent, but only if there's melee attackers. It does no good if a bunch of enemies are like Montana and Oscar Mike and Thorn and Marquis. Poison Blood isn't very effective unless there's enemy melee characters, and that's something you need to be careful of. Just because you activate Poison Blood doesn't mean you're a tank, and that the melee characters are going to be easily taken care of. So if you're not running Poison Blood, I can definitely recommend Coiled Spring, increasing the height of Pendles' jump, making it so that it's harder for people to catch him. It makes it easier for him to move around. He can jump over small minions easy. I definitely like Coiled Spring if I'm not using Poison Blood. Next up, level 8. Acidic Blast is not terrible, but I prefer Bountiful Bombs just because, yes, I'd like to increase the damage of Smoke Bomb, but however, increasing the frequency I use it by reducing the cooldown time is definitely more preferable. This allows me to use Smoke Bomb more often so that I can keep cloaking Pendles and keep attacking out of it. From the Shadow isn't terrible. You can activating Smoke Bomb increases the duration of the next use of an injection. I don't know if this stacks if you're able to just use multiple Smoke Bombs and keep stacking it. I'm sorry, I don't know that. It would be nice, but I doubt it. But if you want to rock From the Shadows, you can. I just like Bountiful Bombs because I like being able to use Smoke Bomb as often as possible. Next up, level 9, I like to go with Relentless Strikes. Pendles' melee attack reduces injections cooldown. This is excellent because it allows me so that I'll use injection, they'll be slowed, and then I'll just start using melees. And for every hit, it's minus 5-second cooldown. That means I can use injection much quicker. After a good few hits, the cooldown is almost completely done. Like, using injection rapidly to slow down an enemy repeatedly just makes it much harder for them to live, and you always have your Smoke Bomb to fall back on when things get dicey. Next up, level 10, I like to go with Venom's Synergy. So while Miasma is active, injections damage is increased against enemies with less than 50% health. Necrosis isn't all bad either. This is really up to you, but Venom Synergy is not bad because it helps you finish off enemies that are close to dying and are trying to flee. So Venom Synergy is pretty good, but remember, the injection only gets that extra bonus damage while Miasma is active, so you have to use Miasma first, then injection. And that's it for my Helix loadout for Pendles. I've had a lot of fun and success with this guy, and now we're going to go back to the gameplay, and I'll go over some tips and tricks that I've found to use this guy effectively on the battlefield. Now when it comes to gear and equipment, your equipment loadout that you use shards to power up, I would recommend something you definitely want to play to his strengths of speed. Pendles has amazing speed when cloaked, and playing to that not only increases his greatest strength, but also one of his greatest weaknesses. Pendles' invisibility and his speed are his strengths. His lack of speed while uncloaked and his low health are his weaknesses. And when you use boots to increase sprint speed and movement speed, you're playing to his strength as well as compensating for a weakness at the same time, at least in my opinion. So I would definitely recommend that you use at least one item for movement, for sprint speed. I would definitely recommend that. The other one, I would recommend also probably a vest for maximum health increase, or body armor for damage resistance to reduce the amount of damage taken. Pendles, his other weakness is he does not survive well in sustained battles. He does not do well in engagements that take a while, especially if he's low health. Right here, you're going to see me pick a fight when I shouldn't have. I should have just ran away from the Pendles and not tried to engage him, and I pay the price for it. Pendles does not do well in sustained engagements. He wants to come in to the battle, strike, get the kill, and then immediately retreat back into the shadows and wait for another opportunity. That's what he's all about. You'll see me play recklessly with him, And that's me trying to test out just the limits of how reckless I can be with him. Can I be really reckless, or do I have to play conservatively and be very mindful of my situation on the battlefield? And it's really the latter of the two. I would definitely recommend that you be very, very picky with Pendles right off the bat. I don't recommend that you just rush in headfirst into every fight. Pendles doesn't do well leading the charge. He's all about flanking and removing enemy defenses. I would definitely recommend that you remove thumper turrets, stinger turrets, and any other defensive items or situations, any defensive abilities that your opponents will try to set up. Pendles is a good way to try and remove those. He can flank very easily. You know, turrets can't target him when he's invisible. It's very excellent. He can still take damage from, you know, area effects, like, you know, like pretty much, you know, abilities that aren't meant to target him. He can take damage from, like, let's just say Alani's ultimate that leaves the water on the ground. Even though he can't be targeted, he can still be affected and damaged while invisible. So you need to be cautious, not just run down the middle lane. Don't hesitate to use the flank routes. Don't hesitate to be, you know, kind of a cherry picker with Pendles. In my Orendi video, I pretty much characterized her as kind of an opportunistic predator, you know, an ambush predator. I'm going to have to actually say that title belongs to Pendles now. Pendles is the epitome of ambush and opportunistic. He always, you know, is able to flank, and attacking from behind is my favorite thing to do. It's easy to get behind my opponents, and when there's a big battle going on, you just wait, you just kind of look around, you know, get your bearings, and look for the enemy that has the lowest amount of health. Wait for them to break away from the group, because when they're damaged, they're probably not going to want to stay in the main fray of things. They're going to try and retreat and pull back and make it so that they're harder to hit from all the chaos. But that's where Pendles comes in. When a lone enemy tries to retreat and get to safety, that's where Pendles can come in and just steal the kill and make it so that opponent never had a chance of making it away in the first place. Pendles is excellent for picking off enemies with low health. And he's excellent for not only being able to do that, but he's also excellent at creating those situations by flanking and then just being patient. I highly recommend that you use Pendles patiently. Get behind your opponents and just wait. Survey the situation. Don't be so eager to attack. You know, as you can see, I will run by enemies, no problem. I have no problem running by enemies because I don't want to immediately engage them. And one of the biggest problems that I had with Pendles was I was sometimes a little too trigger happy. I wanted to attack, and I was getting myself killed. Pendles does very well when you quickly survey the field, look for the opponent with the weakest amount of health, get the kill, and then run away. Yeah, I know it's not the bravest tactic. You're not, you know, fighting everyone, you know, heads on, you know, one-on-one. You're attacking them from behind and killing them when they really don't have much of a chance. But that is how Pendles' character is designed. He was made this way. This is what he was designed for, and you need to play to that strength. I strongly recommend that when you attack enemies, you try and hit them with injection to slow them down first. Then, if things start getting dicey, if the battle does not go your way, immediately activate your smoke bomb and just get the hell out of there. Don't wait until you're critical, because it doesn't take much to kill Pendles. His low health just does not, you know, I feel like he dies very quickly. I strongly recommend that you guys pick up Pendles. You got to play a little conservatively, be very patient with him, and just wait for the spots. Wait for the opportunities to come in, and as you can see right here, you know, he was at you know, full health almost, but I had already killed him. I had already seen him play. I had surveyed how he behaved. He was not that good of a Whiskey Foxtrot player, so I was able to engage him from behind and still take him out even when he had a majority of his health. It's very important that you be very patient with Pendles. You're going to have to, you know, sometimes you just want to attack an enemy and just, you know, hit them with injection and then run away. Just to distract them, just to, you know, make them freak out and make them think that you're coming for them. But Pendles is excellent at ambushing opponents and causing havoc and breaking and creating a hole in their formation. So as you can see right here, I like targeting Alani because she's the healer, and I like targeting Ernest because he's usually in the rear of the formation anyway. And I'll always target a Whiskey Foxtrot at low health. You know me. I won't pass up anyone. I'll kill everyone just as equally. I won't discriminate. And the thing I like about Pendles is, I used to hate him. I thought he was bad for the game at first. I legitimately did. I thought he was like a bad thing for the game state. But now I've grown to like him. I recognize his purpose. He's not meant to attack everyone at once. He's meant to pick your spots, be patient. Don't be so eager to rush in there and attack. Look for the most opportune moment to strike, get in, get the kill, and get out. And that's really all I've got for Pendles. You know, that's really the best way I can describe him to you guys. He's very fun, and I've had a lot of fun with him, and you can put up good numbers with him. You know, you just got to be patient, and you just got to wait for those right moments to get that kill. And in reality, Pendles is an awesome, fun character. I can't stress that enough. I love playing with this guy. You just can't afford to push too deep, you know, when you don't have a retreat option. Always try your best to save a smoke bomb when you can. If you can't, you know, and you're going to die, you know, some things are unavoidable. But a smoke bomb, you know, can be the difference maker between you going on a, you know, a kill streak and you just getting your ass completely handed to you. So that's really all I've got for this Pendles gameplay. I strongly recommend that you guys pick him up, play around with him, be patient, and just flank. Flank, attack your opponents from behind, kill them, cause mayhem from behind the enemy lines when they think it's safe, take out enemy defenses, and you will have a lot of fun with Pendles, just as I have. And that's really all I've got for this gameplay. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, comment down below. Stay tuned for more updates and more videos. And I will see you guys all later in my next video. This is RadTech Shoe signing off.